Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, One Hit Obliterator. There's no joke here, we just think it sounds cool. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, joined as always by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how's it going?
It's going great. We've got these Champions amiibo, or I guess just Breath of the Wild amiibo.
I mean, they are all the champions. It's the four champions of the various races, plus the Link Archer amiibo and the Zelda amiibo. So, you know, the six that would have confronted Ganondorf, or Ganon, I suppose, back in the day. 100 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think 100. Yeah.
100? Because there's also something that happened in this game like 10,000 years ago.
I think it's just 100.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, we have them in like standing in a circle, and we were making them do improv warm-ups.
Yep, because that's the only thing that we can think of when people would stand in a circle. I think that's it.
Yeah,
right?
Square dance?
Oh, I don't think. Do you stand in a circle in a square dance? Yeah. Maybe you do. I don't know.
At some point, you have to, right?
I guess. Did I read recently that square dancing is a part of school curriculums as part of like a racist ploy to further like the sort of like Southern genteel whatever culture and like get rid of other kinds of dancing.
It's why it's like the official dance of so many states.
Which is also a crazy thing. Why do we have official dances? A, and B, why are they all lame? Like, does any state have a cool state dance? If your state has a cool state dance, please write into us, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com.
And don't write in square dancing because, sorry to break it to you.
Yeah, sorry to break it to you. Not cool and racist. So... other things that you can email to Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com.
Oh, at gmail.com.
Thank you. Look, we are still running our Sonic Forces borrowing program, whereby I send you my copy of Sonic Forces, you play it for as long as you want, and then send it back to me.
It's been a big success.
At least 2 people have gotten a hold of this game by now. Could be more by the time you're hearing this episode. And it's, you know, people are getting a chance to play this game and then say, oh, there's no reason I should spend any money on it.
It's the holiday season. In the spirit of giving, Patrick is giving his copy of Sonic Forces.
Right. And I assume that it'll come back to me. I've got a lot of faith in our listeners.
Yeah, you know, put it out there to the universe, and you know, the universe will make sure your copy of Sonic Forces finds its way home.
Yeah, and look, if you've got like a kid or something that wants to play a game that's like stupid and that you don't have to worry about it being like, the game might be too violent for kids.
But it's not racist.
It is not racist.
Yeah, so if you would let your kids square dance.
There you go. Then you should at least let them play Sonic Forces.
It's only fair.
If Sonic Forces is the state Sonic game of your state, please write to us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. Mark, what would you say is California's state Sonic the Hedgehog game? Which Sonic the Hedgehog game do you think sums up the spirit of California best? Sonic and Knuckles?
Yeah, that actually is what I was going to say. That is what I was going to say.
I have no way to justify that.
No, but it feels right to me.
It feels right to me, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, I'd like to hear any of these. If anyone wants to write in with what they think there, or tweet at us, we are at NinCart Society. What is your state's official Sonic game?
Or throw it in a review in Apple Podcasts or the podcatcher of your choice.
Yeah. We appreciate all of that stuff. It helps us out a ton. We are going to be talking about the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Champions Ballad DLC. Mark, let's just get into it. All right, Champions Ballad DLC launched about 2 weeks ago at this point. We both had more of an opportunity to get into it. Last time we talked, I believe you had just started it. and I hadn't even turned it on.
Yeah, so I was failing miserably. Just kind of like up front, I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't know if there's really like spoilers to be had, but there are, like story moments that we will be talking about a little bit, and but I'm not going to go into specifics about like the end game or like the end boss or anything like that.
Sure, but I mean, we will kind of be talking freely. So like if you want to go in like totally blind to what the Champions Ballad experience is like, then stop listening.
Yeah, come back to this after you've played it.
Right. But we'll try to be sensitive to like
to a reasonable degrry. I don't know.
Yeah, this is kind of our standard spoiler warning where we're like, we're probably going to give spoilers and we're not going to stress out too much about it.
Yeah. So just FYI.
Yeah, just FYI.
Okay, so overall,
broad strokes.
Yeah, you feeling good about it? How
yeah,
is it meeting your expectations? What were you expecting when you heard that it was story DLC versus what it actually delivers? Because for me, not what I was expecting.
Sure. So the idea that Breath of the Wild could have story DLC is in and of itself a little misleading, right? The fact that it's like it's really a lot more like specific challenges that the game lays out for you and giving you different reasons to explore parts of the map either again or for the first time, and then kind of just like sprinkling in cutscenes here and there to sort of fill out the world is exactly what the entire rest of the game is. But I know that my expectations were set incorrectly by the name story DLC, which I assume that's probably the case for you too, right?
Yeah, and I don't even know that I could necessarily like pinpoint what exactly I was expecting, but I think it was more along the lines of, I don't know, like post-game content or, although that doesn't really make sense given the way that Breath of the Wild handles how you get back into the world after Calamity Ganon is defeated.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think like once, and taking into consideration that this is basically like a $10 deal.
If you're counting it as half of the like full $20 season pass thing,
then I think they delivered, like a reasonable value, if that's how you want to look at it. But it definitely was different than what I was expecting. Not bad, just different.
Let's just quick throw this up against the Master Trials DLC. Which do you think is the better piece of DLC?
Definitely this one.
Yeah.
And not that there's anything wrong with the Master Trials, but I definitely found this more engaging, if for no other reason that it has more shrines, which are, and interesting shrines.
Yeah.
Especially the first 4 that you do.
Yeah.
I thought were really fun, like remixes.
And they like count as shrines. The first 4 shrines. So should we just like walk through what like each phase of this thing is?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So just like the in the previous pack, there are pieces of armor that are just sort of like littered throughout. And you can set them as little side quests that you go and find a book that gives away the locations of these new pieces of armor, and then you can seek them out. That kind of thing was present in the first DLC pack. It's back here. With some, did you hunt any of these down?
No, I was actually kind of burned on the Master Trials ones, where they're aesthetically cool, but outside of the Korok mask, don't really have any new or interesting application.
Yeah,
and they can't be upgraded.
They can't be upgraded, and their defense is so low, like so low. They're usually like 1 or 3 or something like that. Yeah, I grabbed a couple of them just because I wanted that Wind Waker, like the blue shirt. I wanted that. And I also wanted the hat of the merchant from Link Between Worlds, which, first of all, has a defense of 2 instead of 1. But also it looks stupid, which I really like. and it increases the speed of your sideways climbing only.
It's like a rabbit type
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
right?
Is the character's name like Rovio or something like
Yeah,
that?
yes.
Yeah, it's that character.
Does the mask make a sound effect? Is there like a sound effect associated with it? I thought I saw something on like a video or something where somebody's running around and it's
I don't know if
making
I've
some
heard
sort of
it.
noise. Okay, yeah.
But
And I could be wrong.
And you know, there's like a Zant mask from Twilight Princess and a couple other things. But yeah, those are mostly novelties, right? The like main chunk of this is it starts with you being summoned back to the
Shrine of Resurrection.
Shrine of Resurrection, that's correct. And this only triggers after you've beaten all 4 divine beasts.
That's right.
And at first it seems like a tangential like relationship to that, because you go back to the Shrine of Resurrection and there's this weapon, and I think we discussed it briefly on a previous episode, but it is a weird like 4-pronged trident battle axe thing that the damage it deals is infinity. It shows you the infinity sign, right, where like you're trading it for a stick or whatever, and it goes from 2 to infinity. And it also sucks all of your health away, so you've got a quarter of a heart, and you
kill anything with 1 hit.
Yes,
and you will die from 1 hit by anything.
Lizard spits on you, you're dead. You fall a little bit too far, you're dead. Right.
But it only deals that infinity damage twice before there's like a recharge.
It needs to
period.
recharge. Yeah. So at first when I got like the kind of the gist of that, I was like, oh, this sounds like it's not going to be a lot of fun. But then I realized it doesn't touch your arrows, your bow and arrows at all. So I was like, okay, before I do this, I'm just gonna load up. I'm gonna go to Terrytown and load up on arrows. And I did. Which made the sort of task that it sets you with afterwards way like manageable, basically. I don't know how I would have done it without a plethora of arrows.
Yeah, like I talked about last week, this was me booting up Breath of the Wild after a long period of not playing it.
Right.
And so the first task was basically don't get hit by anything.
Right.
And did I fail at that over and over and over.
Oh boy.
So bad.
Well, and especially because it's not just don't get hit, but it explicitly makes you fight things. So the task that you have to do, it all takes place on the Great Plateau. There are 4 enemy encampments, and you need to get into each of them and kill everything there, and that reveals a new shrine for you to conquer. When you've beaten all 4 shrines, then you can move on to the next thing.
And the new shrines look like the old shrines, but wearing like a hat.
Yeah, they got like a new hat. These new shrines, they got a new hat,
real tall hat.
And some of these the encounters are never like super difficult, but there are some of those like white moblins, or like the silver bokoblins.
Oh yeah, and that's when you're like, I'm saving my 1 kill hits with this. Also, there was one where it was like on top of a hill, and I thought I had cleared everything out, but the shrine hadn't appeared, so I was like walking around, and all of a sudden it's like, oh no, there's a guardian.
Yeah. So yes, I think 2 of them have guardians nearby, and one of them, I know you don't have to, like, you can let sleep, and it doesn't like count.
Oh, okay.
That's the one that's over by all the Lizalfos, the lizard guys. The one that gave me the most trouble, that one was tough. And just kind of the way it was set up, or maybe the way I was approaching it. Like I thought it would be easy to just like throw a barrel down there and blow them up, but then like they move too fast.
Yeah, the Lizalfos are really fast,
yeah,
which sometimes makes it difficult if one like sneaks up on you.
Yeah, and especially if you're trying to, because to this point I just been like, I'm like, here's my secret weapon, everything gets bomb arrows. Bomb arrows, bomb arrows, bomb arrows. And when Lizalfos are like zigging around, and if they get close to you, then your bomb arrows, hey, guess what? You have a quarter of a heart, you're gonna die. So yeah, that one was difficult. Also climbing up to the like the snowy part. I did like I cheesed that one so hard. Like I got up on a high peak and just sort of like sniped down for a while the moblins were like, "Where's that coming from?"
Oh yeah, me too. Did you get on that peak where that like outcropping where there were some of the ice?
Yes, ice bats.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I think that's like I can see where
Keese,
it
whatever
wants
they're
you.
called.
Yes, ice keys.
Yeah.
Where it wants you to like go around and like approach the camp
It's
that
like
way.
nah,
nah, bro. Nah.
I'm just gonna like throw
I'm
bombs
good.
down
I'm
there,
good.
slowly whittle away at the enemy health here.
Yeah. So you clear out these camps and then you get access to the new shrines. Mark, you mentioned that you like the new shrines.
Yeah, these were I think because there are more shrines later.
Yes.
There's what 12, 16 total
yeah,
new
I
shrines.
guess 16 new shrines. Yeah.
And yeah, 16 or 17, and they're all interesting, but these first 4 are really cool remixes of like taking the mechanics that we've seen in other shrines and making them new. And they like add new elements. Like there's one shrine that it's all about darkness.
Yeah, and there are like lasers that you have to like kind of Mission Impossible your way. Mission Impossible is not the right reference here. What do I want to Thomas Crown affair where they're like diving over?
Oh yeah, or what was that one with Sean Connery and Catherine Zeta-Jones? Entrapment?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, they were entrapmenting their way.
Yeah. Ooh, it's so entrapmenty.
The entrapmentness of it all.
Ooh, it's so entrappy. Yeah, that was a super fun one where it was all dark and just like they're tough too, and you retain this like you die in one hit.
Oh yeah, there's one where it's all about spikes.
Yep,
and that one you have to get through all in one go.
Yes,
it keeps resetting you.
Yeah,
and that one was frustrating, but like in a fun way.
It had the same. I've seen the same difficulty curve in Mario Odyssey. Like a lot of these like little courses that you find yourself in, where the first time you do it, you're like, I have no idea how I'm ever going to do this. And then 10 minutes later, you're like, I'm so close to being able to do it. And then, another 10 or 5 minutes later, you're like breezing through it and it feels good, like you are learning a new skill and really mastering it.
So in that way, like the new, I guess really just in general, the Champions Ballad for me, the new content, the shrines, the new divine beast at the end, the final boss, that was all great because it was like new and interesting and different. Like I don't know, the bosses at the end of each individual champion's quest where you're like it's another like Ganon and you just have different you have limited resources.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that part then. So when you get through all of this stuff with the one-hit obliterator, then you can finally put this weapon down and leave the Great Plateau. And you're tasked with experiencing the trials that the individual champions experienced 100 years ago to become the champions of whatever their races.
Ooh,
right
now I'm thinking, is it 1,000 years? I don't know.
I think it's 100 years.
Some multiple of 10. I think it's 100 as well.
Here's the thing. There are characters alive in Hyrule today that knew these champions before they died.
Yeah.
And I'm fine going out on a limb and being like, yeah, Prince Sidon is 100 years old. Prince Sidon is 1,000 years old.
Looking good for 1,000.
Looking great for 1,000. Looking pretty good for 100, if I'm honest. But so you this is in classic Breath of the Wild fashion. You can approach these in whatever order you want to. Or not at all, I suppose. It's a video game. You can play it or not play it. So, Mark, you knocked out all 4 of these.
Uh-huh.
I have only gotten through 2 at the moment. How did you decide what order you were going to tackle these guys in?
I don't know. That's actually a good question. I went to what is her name?
Urbosa.
Urbosa. So I went to Urbosa's first because I think it was geographically closest.
Sure, you headed to the desert. Yeah.
And then I went for
Rivali.
because I like Rivali's Gale.
Mm-hmm.
So and
well, yeah. So after you do the first one, you discover that one of the prizes from going through and doing all these trials is that you get like a leveled up version of the champion's powers.
Right, and so like the cooldown is much shorter now.
Right.
Yeah, so you can use Rivali's Gale a lot more often.
Mm-hmm.
I love Rivali's Gale when I'm traversing
yes
Hyrule. Urbosa's Fury comes in handy when you're fighting like the bosses and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know how I would have taken down the water boss, the water boy cannon with the limited resources without having Urbosa's Fury.
And then I did
Mipha's,
and then the last one I did was Daruk,
mm-hmm.
and that was mostly because the Goron city and that whole area is just kind of my least favorite in the game.
Yeah, it's kind of the it's the part that feels like the least alive to me, and I'm not really sure why that is. Other than like it's in a volcano, so my brain is just like there's nothing living here.
Yeah, well, and it is just kind of visually less interesting than the other areas.
Yeah.
The Gorons are I guess I would say like the most unchanged of the races.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I don't know. But his you have to do like the three trials.
Mm-hmm.
Each
champion.
Oh yeah,
let's talk about like how you find these trials.
So, yeah, that's interesting.
By each of the divine beasts, there is a new little like temple thing that springs up, and there are 3 pillars around, kind of like circular pedestal kind of thing, and on each of those pillars is a like little piece of the map, or like it's an aerial view. It's not like one for one exactly the map as you have when you push select or minus, whatever the buttons are, who knows. And there's a little dot on there, and you have to like kind of figure out where that is on your map and go seek it out. So this is, first of all, the only time that Breath of the Wild does this kind of thing, right? Where it shows you like an approximation of the map and you have to like decode it on your own. How did you feel about those?
I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
Especially because they're all kind of in the same geographic location.
Yeah, sure. Like all of Urbosa's stuff is in the desert.
Also, there are other clues to go along with it.
Yes,
and if these clues come from a ballad.
Right. So Cass is hanging out at all of these like weird monument things, and he is singing a new song about each of the champions that he is supposed to be completing, and I guess you're helping him complete them, or
or it's like once you've completed the trials, he's like, oh, now I feel inspired to like write the verse for this song.
Sure, because he sees you reenact the trials.
And so Cass is trying, the whole like framing device is that Cass is trying to complete a song that his
his mentor.
His like mentor left unfinished.
Yes.
And as you complete this, he like gets inspiration.
Right.
To complete a verse about each champion.
So for each champion, there are, three trials that you have to do. You get these little map clues, and then you also get little chunks of lyric from Cass that are, I don't want to call them like riddles necessarily. Like sometimes they're where it's like catching rings in the desert or something. Well,
especially after you learn the pattern that all 3 are going to basically be the same thing for each champion. It's like there's going to be the blue rings that you have to like race through in a certain amount of time. There's going to be an enemy, a specific enemy that you have to kill in that area. And then like the third one kind of is
kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah, kind of a crapshoot. Usually it has you interacting with the world in some way, and you might need to like go to the location that is indicated and talk to somebody to kind of like figure out exactly what you're supposed to do.
Right. So those like kind of context sensitive ones or like region specific ones were my favorite because that felt the most like I was revisiting an area of the world that I knew. Like going to the desert and having to go back into the Yiga clan's hideout. That was so much fun, and also like going back there and being powered up enough where I'm like, I can fight these guys if I need to, and then I do when I die. But like there's something very cool about like revisiting that, or like I'm working my way through the Rivali trials right now, and one of them is you've got to like shoot the horns of it says the fire dragon, which is Denal. And like I love hunting dragons in Breath of the Wild. Like harvesting dragon pieces it's fun for me. I get a rush every time I see one of the dragons flying around in the sky, and then it's just like it's go time. And it's just fun to be able to like I have that knowledge set of like this is where the dragon comes. He comes, between like 1:00 and 3:00 in the morning. He doesn't come every night. Here's a good place to wait for him. And so it's just like, like falling back into like old tricks, old patterns to like accomplish something new, or like accomplish something old, but with like a new twist on it, was really exciting to me. I really, really like that kind of stuff.
And then once you do these trials, a new shrine appears for each one.
Mm-hmm.
So each champion has 3 shrines, and the shrines are all, kind of like thematically based around like the different champion. So, like Daruk's they all involve fire. Rivali's, all involves like air.
Right. And there's like a lot of water in the Mifa ones.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of
exactly.
like freezy stuff. I found the like the puzzle elements in these to be like, maybe I'm just misremembering my original experience with the shrines, but the puzzles were harder.
Yeah, I agree.
Like they take a little bit more really teasing out like how to use and you're like, geez, what powers do I use in this one, and like what's the best way? There's one in the Mifa trial where there's like a circuit board kind of along the wall that is missing just a couple like connection points, and there are some blocks that are magnetic blocks that you can like move over there, but there's water as well, and you can't go in the water or you get shocked unless you're wearing your shock armor, then you're okay. But like there were a couple times doing that where I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like getting really close to being stumped, and then like having those kind of like aha moments. I really liked having those.
Yeah, they feel appropriately challenging, especially because if you're playing this, you've probably put a lot of time into this game.
Yeah,
and so and not all of them are that difficult.
Sure,
not all. Some of them are just more about like physical dexterity, like running through an obstacle course. Or, just like puzzling your way through, like, how do I stop these flames from killing me?
Right.
Using like a metal block.
Right. Or like, how do I make this ball fall in the right place?
Yeah.
I haven't encountered, I guess you can tell me if there are. I didn't encounter any like, no, I guess there is a major test of strength, right?
Which is really cool because you breeze through it, and like the first part.
Right.
And you're like,
wait, hold on. Is this one of the one-hit obliterator ones?
Yes,
it is.
It is. But that one is a great example of like how this game or how this expansion kind of takes your expectations and then goes one step further.
Right. So you go into the room where a normal major test of strength. There's that little like guardian guy. And you've got the one-hit obliterator, so you one-hit obliterate it, right? And then the platform that's on becomes an elevator, and there's like a whole maze below it of like more stuff that you have to do. Man, it's just so like smart and cool to be like, this thing you've seen a bunch of times, this isn't it,
And it's not that the shrines for the champions are bad. It's just that it has less of that, I feel like.
Sure.
Than the but it makes up for it in kind of the challenge.
Right. Well, and how like I don't know, like everything about it is a little bit different. I mentioned the first 4 shrines are regular shrines. You get the little what are they called? The spirit orbs.
And
you can trade them in and get another heart piece, or I guess it's a full heart. But when you are doing the trials for the champions, each one has their own like set of orbs that you're collecting, and so you just cash those in to like finish up the trial.
So where the story part of the story expansion comes in,
right? We're getting there.
Is that
half hour into the episode?
Is that after you have completed the trials for a specific champion, what is his name?
Cass
is inspired to complete the verse about that champion, and after he does so, you get a memory, right?
Yeah, basically, they're memories.
Oh, wait. But before that happens, you go, so you do the 3 shrines, you get the 3 emblems, and then you go back to the Divine Beast for that particular champion.
Mm-hmm.
And at that Divine Beast, you're
pulled into a nightmare realm.
Yes, a memory.
Yes, where, so there are things I like about this and things I think are kind of dumb. But it puts you up against the whatever blight Ganon that you fought in that Divine Beast in the first place. Fire for Daruk, water for Mipha, and so on. And it equips you with like kind of bare minimum, not nothing, but like you don't have a ton of options at your disposal.
Yeah, just like 1 or 2 weapons.
Mm-hmm.
One specific armor, and
maybe a shield,
and maybe a bow with a handful of arrows.
So here's the thing that I think is really cool about it, is that I think this is the game, and I wish they would have just gone the extra mile, but this is the game approximating what the champions would have had when they battled.
Yeah, that's the idea behind it.
Because like when you're fighting Mipha's, you're wearing the Zora armor, and you're carrying, her like trident and stuff like that. It would have been cool if they were just like, you're playing as this character.
Totally.
Man, that would have been so dope. Even just for those single battles, which, the battles aren't super great the first time you fight them anyway. Like, one of the bigger letdowns of Breath of the Wild is these boss battles, right? And so having to fight them again, leaves a little bit to be desired, I think.
Limiting your resources doesn't necessarily make it more fun.
Right. And I mean, that speaks to one of the things that I personally found frustrating about the Master Trials DLC, is that you keep being put in scenarios where you don't have all of your resources, right? Like, one of the things I like about Breath of the Wild is that like I keep getting more stuff and I keep getting more powerful by virtue of the things I have with me. And then when it takes that away, I'm just like, well, what have I been building here when I just have to lose it all in order to have this boss fight? The one thing that you do get to take with you, of course, is your champion powers. So like, there are some ways that you're still bringing a little bit of that like Link edge to all of this.
But then, for real this time, after you do this boss fight, then you get the like plus version of the champion's power, and then casting his like the verse about that champion, and you see like your reward for doing all this is another like memory, basically like a cutscene that showcases Zelda's interaction with this champion.
Right. And Zelda's not really the strongest character in this game, and like I don't know, her voice acting always kind of bugs me. So like I wish we could see more of Link's interactions with the champions. But I like the champions well enough, right? Like I get excited seeing more of them. I don't know, how did you feel about these cutscenes?
Yeah, like I thought they were fun. The champions each have really distinct personalities.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
We got to see a little bit more of that. My favorite one, I guess is like story spoilers if anybody cares, is Daruk's.
Yeah.
Because, so, he's like this big macho guy. And then in the cutscene, like a bunch of moblins are attacking something,
Yeah.
and you can't see what it is, and Daruk like goes over, scares the moblins off, and then when it's finally revealed what the moblins were attacking, it's a dog. It's like, well, and Daruk is terrified of dogs. It's really fun. It's like a fun character moment. So they're all enjoyable.
Yeah. I've only seen 2 of them at this point. But the Mifas I liked a lot, if for no other reason than we get to see a baby Sidon.
Yeah, it's super cute.
Man, and he smiles so big, and like I don't know, Sidon is, I think, my favorite character who's alive during the events of Breath of the Wild. So like it's a fun little thrill to see to see him as a baby. But yeah, I mean it's also just cool to spend time with any of these characters again, because they're all really neat. But so you've cleared all 4 of these the Champions trials. Then something happens beyond that.
Yeah, so you after the Champions trials, you go back to the Shrine of Resurrection, and when you put your Sheikah Slate, I think that's what triggers it. But anyways, you go back to the Shrine of Resurrection.
The Shrine of Resurrection here is like the Tatooine or the 1955 of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's where everything happens.
So because you put your Sheikah Slate in and basically get in an elevator, and it goes down and takes you to a new divine beast.
Cool.
It's honestly, I think, one of the better divine beasts to go through. Like
So does it function the way the other divine beasts do, where like you get the ability to like manipulate something on like the map screen? Okay, cool.
And it has like the different like sensors or whatever they call them.
Yeah, things that you have to activate.
Yeah, and then once you activate them all, there's a boss fight, and the boss fight is cool. So I won't talk too much about that, other than to say that it is really neat.
Okay, cool.
And different from anything we've seen
from the other like Wind Blight Ganon or whatever. Okay, cool.
And and then after going through that boss battle, which is grueling in a way that none of the other ones are, you're rewarded with the motorcycle. I can't remember exactly what it's called, and it functions as a it shows up as a emblem. What do they call them? A rune or whatever in your Sheikah Slate.
Oh, okay,
so you
cool.
So you like use that to summon it
anywhere
in the world.
Master Cycle 0.
Yeah, the Master Cycle. Of course, yeah, rolls off the tongue. The Master Cycle 0. And so it's kind of fun to just go through careening around Hyrule using that.
Yeah, and so but once you are cruising around Hyrule with that, you're kind of back in like Breath of the Wild end game of like whatever you want to, like there's nothing
game
to do
over.
with it. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Is it fun to drive the motorcycle around?
Yeah, I think I haven't done it a bunch because I think where it's going to be really fun, I was just like going around like Hyrule Field and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Where I think it's going to be really fun is getting to these like impossible locations, like high up on a hill or something.
Yeah.
And summoning it there, so you can do like cliff jumps or something.
Right. Do a little dirt biking down there.
You can't summon it everywhere.
Oh,
so or that's what it warns you. I don't know if that means like within inside shrines, or if it means like on top of mountains. I don't know. I haven't pushed the limits of what you can do with the Master Cycle 0.
Yeah,
but it's a fun way to get around. And like Link looks awesome because he has like cool animations when you're like turning right. Like he'll like put a foot down a little bit and kind of look at the camera. Like he looks dope.
Well, and I think we talked about this a little bit as well, but like the Link riding a motorcycle is something that we've seen in Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That like his cart is a bike. It's like an Epona bike. So I don't know. There's something that it seems like we've been leaning into this for a little while, and just to actually get it in Zelda is cool. Also, I like that it's like a Guardian motorcycle. Like it has the same sort of aesthetic as like the shrines and the divine beasts and the guardians. And
yeah, because like in game, the story is that it comes from something that the Sheikah created.
Yeah, the Sheikah. Yeah. Yeah, so it's a cool looking thing. It is a little weird that it's like after you complete all these things, which also necessarily has to be done after you've beaten all the divine beasts, then you get like one more way to traverse the landscape.
But also, like, when you consider that there are 120 shrines in the base game, and the way I played, I had a lot of those before I went after Ganon.
Right.
So Ganon was one of the last things I was doing, but that's just one way to play it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and we talked in the last episode about other like add-ons or the possibilities for future content for this game, and if like it's just funny to think that like as they develop more ideas and like more things to do in this world, that they may have to be like, oh, but the player has a motorcycle now.
It's a fun like overall Champions Ballad is a really fun package. If for nothing else, like it's more of what I liked about Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is shrines, and that it's if they kept releasing, like $10 packs that have a handful of shrines, I would keep buying it.
Yeah, because it's cool and fun. I mean, I found myself having fun this afternoon. I turned it on just to grab some of the pieces of armor, and all I'm doing is going to a place on a map and like just experiencing the world. And there was one I had to go to the there's a spring by one of the great fountains, like the Fountain of Wisdom or whatever, the one that's in Faron, the like kind of rainforest area. And there were a lot of Lizalfos around, and I was like, I'm gonna pop on the Lizalfos mask so they don't bother me while I'm looking for where this treasure chest is. And they like looked. The Lizalfos looked at me and then like kind of go back to what they're doing, and then one of them like walked up to me and like started like first like sniffing around, but then you can tell like it starts talking to you. It's like and so like I thought it was cute. I thought it was funny. So I pulled out some meat and threw the meat on the ground, and he like got excited and like grabbed it up and like ate it and kept talking to me. I don't know. The simple interactions with the characters in this game and just existing in the world is so enjoyable that like any reason to go back in is a good reason.
Yeah, and I think it just speaks to how fantastic just like the core mechanics of this game are, that they can continue to find new ways to use those basic mechanics to continue to like make fun new things for us to explore.
Yeah. So what do you think's next? Do we have any thoughts about what could be next? What space of Hyrule have we not explored? Like what could the next? Are we going deep underwater? Are we flying up into the sky?
It sounds like you're making Avatar sequels.
I am making Avatar sequels. Yes. There will be 4 new Breath of the Wild games. I'll start working on them now, and I'll see you in a decade.
No, so are you saying like for further DLCs, or? Because I don't know. I think Breath of the Wild is a very solid package at this point. I would honestly like to see them put most of their efforts into whatever comes next.
I will drink to that. Mark, let's close out our conversation here. And that'll do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Please remember to rate and review and subscribe and all that good stuff. It helps us out a lot, and we like to see people write things about us.
Yeah, we also just like to hear your feedback and your thoughts on the show.
Yep. And if you want to email those to us directly, that's fine too. We are, you can email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com. Or you can tweet at us for all the world to see. We are at NinCart Society. And the Facebook page is another place where for all the world to see. It's just called Nintendo Cartridge Society. If you like Mark and Mine's opinions, we do write about comic books on reconpunch.com. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can check out his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thanks for listening.
Podcast Network.
Hi, this is Michael. In an RPG like Dungeons & Dragons, you would roleplay as like a knight or a wizard. But on my podcast, Unaccompanied Minors, I get 4 of the funniest comedians I know to roleplay characters like Ava Santos, a 12-year-old who likes to knit, or Angela Thurman, an 11-year-old who has an orange belt in karate. They take on dragons, we take on the 7th grade. That's Unaccompanied Minors on What's a Creative?